Welcome back to the KIX 96.5 Morning Show. We love featuring new artists on the show, and this morning we're heading to Canada to chat with outlaw country duo Hillside Outlaws. Hillside Outlaws have exploded on the country scene. In 2018, they hit with their debut album, and they haven't stopped. They just signed with Royalty Records and released a brand new single called Didn't Have Dirt. We're stoked to have Louie from Hillside Outlaws on the show with us.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much for coming on. Well, you guys are a duo, or started out as a duo. How did you meet? Who started this thing first? It's you and Langley Jackson. Did you meet him? He meets you? Tell us the story.
Yeah, so we actually started out as a four-piece. It was me and two of my buddies in my hometown of Penticton, British Columbia. I was just kind of doing like open mics and like karaoke contests and things like that, and I decided to put a band together. So Eric and Carlos, our old drummer and bass player, three of us just kind of started rehearsing and playing shows. And it turns out I don't play guitar very well, so we put an ad. Well, we put a couple of ads out looking for a guitar player, and we auditioned like 5 or 6 other guitar players. And when Langley showed up, it was obvious right there from the first note. And then, so he joined the band. This was early 2016. So we started playing some shows here and there, kind of formulated the Hillside Outlaws, and that was it. We were off to the races.
Yeah, the rest is history. Well, the debut album comes out in 2018. COVID hits in 2020. How much did that set you guys back?
You know, it's wild because we were still a four-piece when we put that album together, that very first album. Country Jukebox, and then we started getting nominated for some country awards here in British Columbia, and we started getting more shows, and things were really moving forward. And Eric and Carlos, Eric had just bought a house, and Carlos had just got married, and it was just demanding too much time for them. So they stepped out of the band, and that's when Langley and I rebranded as a duo. And 2019, we were playing Sunfest here with Mitchell Tenpenny, and things were moving along really well. We just finished recording Buckle Up with a new producer, Jeff Johnson, then COVID hit. And so what we did to kind of, in the early days, everyone was still positive. So we did a virtual radio tour. I think we were the first, if not the only band, to do that here in Canada. We were the first one for sure. So we did a whole radio tour on Zoom. We had a fella come in and set it all up so that the audio was great, and we put on a little Zoom concert for all the radio stations across Canada. Yeah, we did that in 2020. We put that song out. Luckily, I mean, we couldn't tour, obviously, and we didn't have much shows for pretty well 2 years. I think we had one show in 2021, but we were still able to record and release music, and keep that relationship with radio, keep the relationship with our fans. And then in 2022, we had a solid year booked of shows, and now we're just right back into the swing of it. So it's been rough, but it's all coming back together now.
Yeah, which is good. Go check them out. beerisessential.com. They've got the best website name of anybody. They're also on Facebook, Instagram. Go and check them out. Their latest single, Didn't Have Dirt, is out now. Penticton, British Columbia. It seems like everybody country-wise is in Ontario. You guys are on the other coast. How's the scene where you guys are in British Columbia?
There's a lot of great stuff coming out of BC. This is where Sean Austin's from. This is where Dallas Smith is from. There's some up-and-comers. Keaton Gates is a couple towns over from Kelowna. You know what I mean? There's a lot of great stuff coming out of BC right now. Our BC country music scene, especially, it's really growing. It's home for me. I'm originally from Ontario myself. So there's a part of me that does think, maybe we should move to Toronto and get deeper into the scene. But it's just so much more relaxed living out here on the West Coast. That's just kind of what we're all about.
Yeah, well, I never heard of it. I looked it up. It says there's about 50,000 people in your area. You're on a lake, which looks pretty cool.
we're actually surrounded by two lakes. There's the big lake to the north and a smaller lake to the south. So depending on how the weather's doing at one, can make you decide which lake to go to. Sometimes if the wind is blowing too hard from the north, you just go down to the south lake, and it's a perfect day.
Nice.
It's we're really spoiled out here in Penticton. It's the name Penticton is an indigenous word for a place you can live forever, and it really is. It's an awesome place.
Yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth, Louis. I was going to say that. You can't leave because it means a place to stay forever. So you're stuck there now. If you go to YouTube and look them up, you guys did this tour bus conversion. This is amazing, Louis. I cannot believe this. One, how long did it take you to do this? I mean, it was like a year.
Yeah, okay. So if you want to talk about things that came out of the pandemic.
Yeah, this is one of them.
I spent a lot of time watching YouTube. I like to build things. I like to work with my hands. And so I kind of fell down these rabbit holes on YouTube with all of these van conversions and off-grid living and all of these sort of do-it-yourself off-grid cabin builds. Started thinking, well, if live music doesn't come back, maybe I'll just build a cabin in the woods and start a YouTube channel or something like that. And so luckily, things did start to open up, and we were starting to book shows again. And I found this bus on Facebook Marketplace. I got a screaming deal on it, and I just had watched so much YouTube that I thought I could do that. So I got this bus in just before Christmas of 2021, I want to say. And then so we were touring in it by summer of 2022. So for about 6 months I worked on it. Now it's not finished yet, and I'm still working on it even to this day. But yeah, it was about 6 months of strenuous labor. There's a bunch of YouTube clips on our YouTube channel.
Oh, there's like 28 of them. I mean, this thing was a project.
Yeah, it definitely was a project. Yeah, I took it from basically a Greyhound that had seats in it. I tore all the seats out. I tore everything out right down to the framework, and everything that you see in there has been built mostly by me. There are a few episodes that feature Langley, and we have a couple of other special guests in there as well. But yeah, it's a labor of love, though. It keeps me busy, and it keeps me off of the couch and watching YouTube instead of making my own. So.
Yeah, well, and I think, is that your backyard that you remodeled your own backyard?
Yeah, so that's my other project. I'm always starting projects before I finish one. So, yeah, this past summer I was kind of the bus is in good enough condition right now that we can tour in it, and any other work that I need to do in it, I pretty much have to take things apart. So it's just kind of it's where it's going to be for now for this summer tour. And so I needed another project, and I live in a little condominium in a little townhome, but I've got this really tiny backyard, and my neighbors are close and they can look in there. So I just decided to build a pergola type privacy thing in the back there. And so that was my project for this summer. Yeah. I'm always doing something.
He's always up to something. Go and check them out. Hillside Outlaws. They're on Facebook, Instagram. Go to their Instagram. They got a lot of awesome videos on their Instagram page. Courtney Hunt. She's an up-and-coming artist. She's your guys' friend. How did we meet? Where'd this come from? So
Courtney, we met her in 2017.
Oh, wow.
This is part of the BC Country Music family. We were down there for our very first BCCMAs. It's like the Country Music Awards for BC. So there's they have a whole weekend planned and showcases. And we landed a showcase there, and this was kind of where we met our first producer, Paul Chateau, with whom we did our first album. And we met Courtney. She's a singer. She was just kind of getting back into it as well. She had taken some time off. She was very active in her youth, and then so she started singing again. And we met her there, and it just kind of butted into a friendship. Now she's I'm kind of managing her actually. Because she's just so talented, and I think she has a lot to offer the world. So we started collaborating. We put out a song for her. It's called "Bottle This Up," available on YouTube, and and Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. You can go check her out as well. And we brought her on the road. She's kind of been our supporting act on the road for a bunch of our shows last year and this year as well.
Yeah, she's got a bunk.
She's got her own bunk in the bus. I think she might even have a whole episode dedicated to her. We call her Courtney Ship.
Yeah, you have a beer fridge in there. Beer is essential. So, what's your favorite beer? Is it you're talking about a Canadian brewery on one of the episodes? But what are we drinking, Louis?
Yeah, so we did put a keg in the bus. There's a beer fridge in one of the underground compartments, and the tap is run up right into the kitchen in the bus. One of the things I didn't realize when I thought that through, that beer is going to shake up on the road. So for a lot of the tour last summer, we had a full keg down there, but it wasn't always easy to pour. It was always shook up. But we were sponsored by a friend of mine who owns a local brewery here, Cannery Brewing here in Penticton. One of my favorites from that brewery is they have a Naramata Nut Brown, and it's kind of like a dark beer. That's my favorite from them. We had a Lake Boat Lager, which is a little more of a lighter beer, which everyone loves. So we had to compromise and get something that everybody loves rather than just a full keg of Naramata Nut Brown for me, which I would have ended up drinking all by myself.
Yeah.
So we met in the middle and we got the one that everyone else likes. But the Cannery Brewing is a great beer. They've got several different. They brew right here in Penticton.
Oh, that's cool. You guys were independent forever. You just signed with Royalty Records. Why now?
It's one of those things where it was just the right time and the right label. We like you say, we've been independent for so long, and we kind of figured out a groove, how to make music, how to get it out, we've had to learn this all on the fly. We don't really come from a music industry background. We've always just been artists, so it's really been a learning curve. But last year at the Canadian Country Music Awards, our producer, Jeff Johnson, introduced me to Rob Smith, who is the head of the label. They had worked together before with some other artists. It was just, there was something that clicked. They really believed in our project. They were very supportive, and they're very good at kind of leaving us our artistic license. They want us to make the music that we want to make. They're not really, they're involved for sure, but they're not telling us what we have to do or what we can and cannot do. So it's very much a collaboration. It's very much a partnership. After so many years of being independent and doing everything on our own, it's nice to have somebody else in our corner that's as pumped about this project as we are.
Yeah, it gets old doing it all yourself too, or it's not easy.
Yeah.
Well, I saw you guys went down to, you're Canadian artists, but you have ties to Nashville. You guys have been writing music down there. Who are you working with there? Or is Jeff there or what?
Yeah, so, we know a bunch of people down there. There's actually a little core group of Canadian artists that have made the move down there. So Jeff Johnson, our producer, who actually just lives at the other end of the valley. So the Okanagan Valley is, it's about 70 miles or 80 miles long. We're at opposite ends, but he's in the north end of the valley, so he's actually quite close. We've become very good friends the last 8 or 9 singles that we've done with him. So I know he hasn't been back to Nashville since before the pandemic, and neither have I. And
oh wow!
Yeah, so last year at the CCMAs, it kind of we had the conversation with the label, and things were all moving again, and it just invigorated his love for writing and his passion for music. And I said, well, why don't we take that and go to Nashville? I've got the entire month of January where I don't have anything to do. I've got no commitment. So let's go down for a couple of weeks. And we wrote with some Canadians down there. We wrote with a couple of big name hit makers in the Nashville scene. We wrote with a fellow named Brian White, who has like 16 number ones. He has a bunch of number ones with Jason Aldean, and who's also just a great dude. And we had, in 14 days, I think we had 12 writes, and we wrote 11 songs. So
jeez,
it was busy, and it was grueling, but it was fun. This song, our single, Didn't Have Dirt, is actually the last song on the last write of the last day, and it was one of those things where we actually wrote. It was the second song we wrote that day, so we were writing with Brian White in the morning, and then we had a 2:00 write with Jordan Orbeck, who is a Canadian producer. He's actually our mix engineer, who's been down in Nashville for, I think, the better part of a decade. And so we went over there. Jeff is tired, I'm tired, but we're pounding back the coffees and getting all wired up, trying to go get this song. And so we ended up in this little garage, which Jordan had turned into his music studio. So we're in this little garage down by a little creek. It's actually a really cool place where he's at in Nashville. So we just kind of started writing this song. Started shaping up as Blame It on Dirt. I was thinking about all these different things, all these different attributes about who I am, and I was like, I can just blame that on dirt, or it just wasn't working the way that I wanted it to. Jeff said, well, who would you be if you didn't have dirt? And then that was it. After that, the song basically just kind of flowed out and wrote itself, as they say in Nashville. The song wrote itself, and we didn't really realize, I think, how special it was until the next day when we were getting ready to go to the airport, and we're just we put on the work tape that we had made. Because at the end of a write, especially at the second write of the day, you're tired.
Yeah.
You don't want to. You just want to be done with that song. So we kind of let it simmer, and we listened to it the next day before we left to the airport. And I think once we heard it that next day, we were like, oh, I think this is going to be the next single.
This is it. Yeah. Well, you said dirt was something we take for granted, which people don't, you don't even think about it.
Yeah. And especially if you start thinking about like country living, right? If you think about country, you think about farmers, and you think about just anything to do with soil and dirt, it's just one of those things that you don't really think about until you go to a big city and you realize there's none of it anywhere. And where am I gonna go 4x4? I gotta leave the city. I gotta go find some dirt. You know what I mean? And that's when I realized that everything that I like to do ends up getting dirty.
Hillside Outlaws, go check them out. beerisessential.ca. Go and follow them. They're on Facebook, Instagram. You're going to hear it. Didn't Have Dirt is their latest single. Well, you said 12 songs. This is the first one. Are we going to do singles? What's coming up, Louis?
Yeah, we've got another one in the tank, and we're just kind of picking. We're still writing. We're always writing. We try and write at least once a week. But there's a couple more from Nashville that I think is going to make it on. We're essentially doing 6 with the label. That's kind of what the deal is. We've got the next one is already done and finished, and it's coming out. It's a song that Jeff and I wrote before going to Nashville. But yeah, we're definitely going to be putting these out in the next few months. I can't wait for everyone to hear them.
Yeah, go and follow them. They're just getting rolling. Big things coming. Hillside Outlaws. Louis, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Didn't Have Dirt. It's Hillside Outlaws. It's KIX 96.5.